What's up, everybody? This will be my first video essay, and I really wanted to start making video essays. I've seen people like PVK and others making content, and it really made me think, you know, I'm not dumber than they are, or, I just have as many talents, so why can't I grift just as hard as them? I look at PVK and the super chats, YouTube premium subscribers, the Patreon members, and I'm just like, I too could move money from people in the corners pockets to my pockets. I have the capability to, leverage my creative skills into content for the benefit of financial gain. And that's a vision and a goal that, as I ascend that ladder, I hope to, never have to talk about any of this nonsense that we talk about here ever again by being as wealthy as possible. So, that's a goal, that's a vision. If you support that, just, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We're in this together. And by together, I mean, I need your money to make myself rich. And that's my vision for the future of this channel. But the first video essay that I wanted to talk about was kicked off when I saw the video from a fitness weight loss influencer on Instagram. And I've seen a lot of fitness content on Instagram. It's, so I follow a decent number of those type of influencers, but seeing this lady's video was a little different.
Switching me where I was like, okay, fuck you, watch this.
Not only is she a weight loss influencer, and you can see how drastic that change in her weight was, but she also uses Ozempic and talks about her use of a weight loss drug, and that's part of her sort of content.
It is really nice to be cheating with Ozempic. It's also really nice to be cheating with my antidepressant. Cheating with my metformin too. Or when I have a headache, cheating with Tylenol is really nice. Stomach a little upset, cheating with the Pepto-Bismol. It is really nice to finally be able to cheat with a GLP-1 medication. Because I fought a long battle of weight loss for decades. And my body was always fighting against me. So now I have something helping me. You want to call it cheating? Fine. I prefer relief.
So you can see a lot of her content revolves around talking directly to people who consume her content and claim that she is cheating. She's not doing it correctly. She is taking a shortcut to fitness. And why do people think about cheating and right and wrong when it comes to someone else's weight loss? And that's what I wanted to talk about. And this is the issue, is that weight loss is not just something for the individual. Weight loss is something that confers higher status relative to other people, that you ascend and descend this hierarchy, that this domain of fitness, physical fitness, thinness, and that it is important to track not only your status, but the status relative to other people. Here's a good reminder of the importance of physical fitness from my friend Patrick Bateman.
To lose any weight? You're kidding, right? You look great. Very fit.
You can always be thinner. Look better.
You can always be thinner, look better relative to other people. And that being thinner, that looking better confers to you status, and that status gives you good gifts, money, power, romantic partners, beauty, that the status of beauty that you receive from ascending the hierarchy of physical fitness gives you gifts like more romantic partners, people wanting to talk to you more, beautiful people wanting to talk to you more, ugly people wanting to talk to you more. And so that it is important to reflect that status, to have status by gaining, by rising up within the hierarchy. And it is not just relative to yourself, it is relative to other people.
What's your name?
Al.
Speak up, come on.
Al.
Get a goddamn job, Al. You got a negative attitude. That's what's stopping you. You got to get your act together. I'll help you.
You got to get your act together. I'll help you. This is why we need the influencer. the influencer who's done something that we want to do helps us. They help us by telling us their story, by telling us tips and tricks to ascend the hierarchy. But with Ozempic, we're finally seeing that it is going to become much easier through technology to become fit, that the fitness hierarchy is going to be easier and easier to ascend. And that flattening out of the hierarchy means that there is nothing to strive towards.
Lose any weight? You're kidding, right? You look great. Very fit.
You can always be thinner. Look better.
What happens when you don't get your good looks, your thinness from hard work, or the classical means? What happens when you can get it from a bottle? And people don't like this idea, but what I want to get at is not the rightness or the wrongness of Ozempic, but that it allows us to see a future that's different from the present. It allows us to imagine a world where it's not as difficult to maintain physical fitness. It's not as difficult to maintain a body type. And, in the comments, you could say, oh, muscle wasting and adverse events and all these bad things that it could do. But we can at least imagine a more perfect version of an Ozempic, a future version of Ozempic that doesn't have those problems. We can at least start the conversation about what that future would look like. And what happens when we flatten out the hierarchy.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
That when everyone is thin, no one will be thin. When everyone is beautiful, no one will be beautiful. And we have to think, what is the consequence for people who've already ascended that hierarchy? The consequence for people who've already ascended the physical beauty hierarchy is that now they want to defend their status. And here's a guy who does on the street interviews, very funny at Fashion Week.
Ozempic, eat the cookie. Yo, you're a legend. That's the hottest girl in America right now. The hottest girl in America right now.
I'm really not on Ozempic, but
Yeah, we love you. Yeah,
I love food too much.
The Ozempic people are cheaters.
They are.
They are.
The Ozempic people are cheaters.
What's your opinion on that?
No.
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 Yeah. It's cheating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Are
don't like
Are
that.
the models that do that morally weak?
Yes.
All right. The models who use Ozempic are morally weak. There's a moral valence to participating in the hierarchy of physical fitness, that there's a right way and a wrong way to get the status that gives you good gifts, that it's not fair to acquire this status and get the acknowledgement, the likes, the follows, the people wanting to look like you, the people following your social media accounts, if you do it the wrong way. So there's a moral system associated with physical beauty. But there's a dark side to the moral system associated with physical beauty. Bum, bum, bum.
Lunch, I had a salmon Caesar salad. And all of a sudden, I'm eating the Caesar salad and a memory pops up in my brain. Now, I barely remember what I did yesterday, but I remember every single time someone has commented on my body, my weight, or my food. Before I met my husband, I went on a date. I met this guy through a dating app, which is a whole other ballgame if you're in a larger body. Anyways, we're at the restaurant. Guess what I ordered? The salmon Caesar salad. We're talking, we're making small talk, and all of a sudden this guy says to me, "You look different than your photos. You look bigger." Now, I don't even remember how I handled it, but you know what I do remember? The feeling. The knot in my stomach, my face flushed, the shame, the embarrassment. Those memories stick with you. So my salmon Caesar salad was good until it wasn't very good anymore. Because that memory still to this day makes me extremely uncomfortable. If you've been in a larger body or you've struggled with your weight or with your relationship with food, there is a lot to process. And it's okay if you need to ask for some support.
So not only is there a hierarchy, the hierarchy is being challenged, the defense mechanisms of the hierarchy are coming out saying it's morally wrong, it's cheating to use Ozempic. But then we realize that the people who are being asked to not use Ozempic, the people that are being asked to not use this cheat, are the ones that are being harmed by the hierarchy. you're asking the have-nots to not change their behavior so you can reinforce your status in the hierarchy. And that's the fatal flaw, is this hierarchy can't be perfect, can't be internal, because it requires people being forced to unwillingly forced to participate in the hierarchy to continue a paradigm that they don't like, the haves and the have-nots. And so this is why there's a crack in the hierarchy. This is why people are worried about Ozempic, about changing the status and the collapse of their status that they get from being physically beautiful. And so in this moment, I want to talk about, we're watching a hierarchy, and physical beauty has been around for forever and ever, but this exact paradigm, who knows, of skinniness being the ultimate look, we could call modernity, of this paradigm of weight loss books and a particular look and obsession with losing weight. And we can see how this finally has some cracks inside of it, even though it looked eternal. Everyone has a look they want to achieve. Everyone wants to be jacked. Everyone wants to be or shredded, or they want to look thin, or they want to look big and muscular. Like, everyone has a relationship to this hierarchy, and it in many ways felt or feels eternal. It will never go away. But we're finally at a moment where this God, this hierarchy, we can see it as someone you've made sacrifices towards, as something you've wanted to ascend, something you've wanted to achieve, something that you've paid attention to. We can see the crumbling of that hierarchy because of the advent of this new technology, or even the image, the idea of the new technology that makes the idea of spending a lot of time and effort on your looks somewhat superfluous. And so this old God is finally dying. And humans have a desire to have things to put their attention toward. They want to look towards certain things. They want to become more athletic. They want to become more wealthy, more powerful. They want more friends, more status, and the good gifts that come from this status relative to other people. And so now that we see the crumbling, finally we see the crumbling of this hierarchy.
When everyone's super. No one.
Before we make our next move of what is the next idol that I'm going to put my time and attention toward, what's the next hierarchy I'm going to sacrifice my time and efforts toward, we have the chance to say, well, I just saw one hierarchy crumble. I just saw this old God die. So it can't just be the good gifts that matter. There's also a longevity factor, and a factor of who is benefited, because some people are being hurt. Some people have stories of being hurt by the hierarchy. So it's not just what good gifts you as an individual get, it's who's getting the good gifts and for how long. So there have to be now we can see the other dimensions of what hierarchies we want to participate in. We don't want to just participate in the hierarchy that right now can get us the most good today, that I can get the most likes, the most clicks, the most romantic partners, the most money in this moment. I want it to be across time and for as many people as possible. And the many people as possible is not just because we want to be kind to other people. It's also so that the hierarchy becomes more robust, because requiring people to participate in a hierarchy that causes them harm opens that hierarchy up to being disrupted. That the people that don't want you to take Ozempic are the ones who are already benefiting from the system. And the people who do want to take Ozempic are the people who are being harmed by that system. So it opens up a domain to ask the question about, what does a good hierarchy look like? Or what is the most fundamental what does a hierarchy look like that we can actually put the most amount of our time and attention toward, or the most fundamental levels of our time and attention toward, because we aren't at risk of that crumbling. It doesn't feel good to be a master horse rider a few years after the car is invented. What's the point of being an archer when guns come out? That these hierarchies where we put our time and attention to become I master this, I master that. I'm really good at solving this sort of problem. Well, now automation comes in. So what are the fields or the hierarchies that won't be disrupted in that same way? And this is where let's pause this moment. We've seen the crumbling of one of the hierarchies. We're just about to put our attention towards something new, a new makeup style, a new way to stand out, a new fashion, a new job to get. Maybe we could become a tech bro now. Maybe we could become a CrossFitter and build big muscle. And being skinny, that's been cracked, and it's easy to be skinny now. But if we add muscles to it, that'll be hard, and that'll raise me up in the hierarchy landscape for a little longer. But what can we do that we put our time and attention in a place where it's not beholden to functions, to hierarchies, to gods that will die? And this is where I think the scriptures, this is where the Bible has something to tell us and point us in the right direction. This is from Ecclesiastes chapter 2. I undertook great projects. I built houses for myself and planted vineyards. I made gardens and parks and planted all kinds of fruit trees. I made reservoirs to water groves of flourishing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had other slaves who were born in my house. I also owned more herds and flocks than anyone in Jerusalem before me. I amassed silver and gold for myself and the treasure of kings and provinces. I acquired male and female singers and a harem as well, the delights of man's heart. I became greater by far than anyone in Jerusalem before me. In all this, my wisdom stayed with me. So what is Solomon, the writer of Ecclesiastes, what is he saying here? He's saying, I ascended the hierarchies. I have wealth of kings and provinces. I have beautiful gardens. I have slaves. I have flocks and herds of animals, singers, harem. This is all money, power, romantic partners, everything that we think of as status giving today, he's talking about here. I denied myself nothing my eyes desired. I refused my heart no pleasure. My heart took delight in my labor, and this was the reward for all my toil. Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after when nothing was gained under the sun. That Solomon has his moment where he looks around and he says, ascending these hierarchies hasn't given me the good gifts that I expected them to. That these hierarchies are collapsing for me, and I don't see the purpose of trying to ascend them. I see that there's no point in continuing up the hierarchy. I can no longer say you can always be thinner, look better. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. What do people gain from all their labors at which they toil under the sun? Generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south and turns to the north. Round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow into the sea, yet the sea is never full. To the place the streams come from, there they return again. The place the streams come from, there they return again. The sun rises and the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. That these hierarchies rise up, these hierarchies collapse. That we are chasing after the same things, money, power, romantic partners, opportunities that we've always been chasing after. And yet we see that they always collapse in the same way. And so in terms of Ecclesiastes, we're somewhat stuck. We're somewhat stuck here of there is no breaking out of the current paradigm. That we'll always be chasing after efforts towards higher status. And then there will be new technologies that reduce those old hierarchies. And then we ascend new hierarchies, and those will collapse, and this eternal process. But in response to this, I think the New Testament, specifically the Sermon on the Mount, has a perfect response to what Solomon is talking about in the book of Ecclesiastes. Matthew chapter 6. Treasures in heaven. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven where moths and vermin do not destroy and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That this gifts given to us by having status, by ascending hierarchies, that these things, the power, the wealth, the the men, the women, the harems, that these things are the things where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But there's somewhere else. There's something else you can attend to. There's another hierarchy which you can think about, which you can put your time and effort towards, which vermin and moths and rust will not destroy and decay. And this final line, this is a really killer line. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Is when these things collapse, it's also our identities that collapse. It's who we are. We're putting our faith in our good looks. We're putting our faith in our money. We're putting our faith in our job title or in relationships. And because we do that, when they're destroyed, parts of us are destroyed. And this is what Jesus says, Sermon on the Mount. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? So do not worry about what you eat or drink or what your body will wear. So this is sort of removing all the ephemeral, all the things that moth and vermin will destroy. But there's the big but, and this is the second part. And why do you worry about clothes? See, status symbol. See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. Solomon. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today, and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? So don't worry. Don't worry about ascending the status hierarchy. But. Before we do that, there's one more great command we're going to get. For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. That by ascending the hierarchy of righteousness of the kingdom of God is the place where you get the gifts that are everlasting. That if you turn your attention to the thing that is eternal and climb the hierarchy of righteousness, that the gifts you get will be the heavenly rewards that don't decay, that don't rust, that don't break down. And so you don't have to worry about Ozempic stealing your modeling career when you attend to the kingdom of heaven. You don't have to worry about being thinner, looking better, because your Father who is in heaven knows that you have need of certain things, the food, the clothes, the drink, and he will give you these good gifts, but he will give them you them in such a way that he also doesn't give you the things that decay. He will put you on a trajectory that's pointed to the eternal things and not the things that break down. Matthew chapter 7, the wise and foolish builders. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house. Yet it did not fall because it had foundations on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. The game is being called out that if you build your house on the correct principles, on the eternal principles, then when the chaos comes, when they invent Ozempic, when they invent Ozempic 2.0, when inflation takes away your savings, when all these unexpected events happen, you won't have change. Your house won't collapse because you are situated on the eternal things, on the things that don't change over time. And this is the promise that Jesus makes. I will be with you to the end of the age, that you can trust me because I've seen the collapse of these things. and I put my faith in my Father who is in heaven and who is eternal. And so when we see Ozempic, when we see something change a paradigm, and we see the collapse of the old gods, we see the collapse of the hierarchy, this is a gift. This is a gift to see a house that is built on the sands. You know, how much status do we give to physically beautiful people? How much better do we treat those people? Because we know that they have good gifts to give, that they have ascended the hierarchy, that there's something we want from them. How much better do we treat people because of things that are perishing? And instead, and when we see the collapse, when we see, and it hasn't even happened yet, which is why I think it's important to talk about now. You know, not everyone is using Ozempic yet. Not everyone. And people, oh, you know, we're not going to use it. But we can imagine in this moment, before it happens, before the collapse happens, we can see what's going to happen. We can see how, oh, this thing that I really cared about. Oh, you know, I saw a beautiful woman the other day. I saw a beautiful man the other day. Oh, I wanted them to say hi to me. I wanted them to smile at me. You know, we have that paradigm, and we can see the collapse of that paradigm. We can see the supermodels getting nervous. We can see them getting nervous about the rise of Ozempic, about their unique claim on the gifts of being physically fit. They're getting nervous that that's going to be, you know, challenged. And now we can put our faith in something new. We have the moment where we see the house collapse. We can watch the house built on the shifting sands collapse. And then we have that opportunity before we built a new one right where the old one was to say, what are the eternal things? What are the things that I can put my faith in and my trust in? And the teachings and the word and the righteousness of God, there may be people watching who have not been convicted yet about this, but that is the purpose of the scriptures, is to point you to the Heavenly Father who doesn't decay and rust, who will be with you always to the end of the age. And that is the gift that will never die. Or if it dies, it will be reborn. And so this moment we see it's tiny collapse. We can see the collapse. We can see the come down of one of these idols that we've put up on the in the throne room, that we've put up in the temples in our heart, and we can see it crumble. And before we put something new there, before we join the gym, before we buy some new clothes, we can say, is this the place where if I put my attention, it will be safe, that it will give good gifts, that it will lead to something that will not decay over time? And so we can rest in this moment and think, where do I want to put my attention next?